Om Shri Ganeshaya Namo Namah. Greetings to everyone world over, all our brothers and sisters across the globe. Wherever you are, first and the foremost priority you got to give to your health and your wellness. When you're physically fit, when you're mentally fit, when you're economically, spiritually, and environmentally fit, you can win the world. And if you wish to win the world, you got to travel. And for that matter, travel and tourism is the most important segment, part, and vision of the humanity. And we have come a long way when you look at the civilization, the mode of travel, the purpose of travel, the facilitations during travel, all that has undergone tremendous change. And so is the technology, and so is our entire universe while looking at tourism. Today, we have got a very important subject. We talk about e-tourism. We generally talk about e-commerce, e-finance, e-banking, a couple of other areas. Everything is EE. Why not e-tourism? And when we talk about it, with the context of the future of tourism, we have got a very distinguished guest today, Engineer Dolly Bhasin, ma'am, the founder, SmartEdge, MD, SPH Consultancy, Eservices Private Limited. We extend her a very warm welcome, and we also extend our best wishes and greetings in the green morning, in the green afternoon, and the green evening, because we all are in different time zones. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 1728th webinar. During the pandemic and post-pandemic, we started special series on 25th of March, 2020. Today is Monday, 21st of November, 2022. It's almost 2 minutes past 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time in India. And here we go. ICSI, International Chamber for Service Industry, is a link between India, our non-resident Indian diaspora brothers and sisters, those have gone across the globe in the different countries, different continents. There are 32 million plus. And at the same time, the corporate sector in India and other places and the government interface, from time to time, we keep giving our valuable inputs in the form of a white paper, roadmap, strategy map, action paper. We keep submitting to the government what all is to be done. And it's a proud privilege that we were the part with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, in preparing 12 champion sectors of service industry in the February 2018. Let's move ahead. How IT can change the world. What exactly is e-tourism? When, where, how, what exactly you're looking forward to, what facilities, where do you want to travel? You want to know the climate, you want to know everything. So in the ecosystem of tourism, when we talk about e-tourism, whether it's the business or it's the tourism, and per se, when you talk about information, communication, and technology, we will be unveiling today. I wish to share with our global brothers and sisters, if you recall and if you recollect, between 10th and 27th of September 2022, just a couple of months back, we had organized a special series for all of you, which was dedicated to tourism, rethinking tourism, repackaging tourism, regenerating tourism post-pandemic, what all has to be done. And that time we had also launched our research and compilation, and that was basically rethinking tourism post-pandemic. Should you get a time, should you wish, please go through this ebook. It is available if you log on to icsiindia.in, our web portal. Free of cost, it's available. There are 15 chapters, wonderful chapters. You would enjoy the journey. Now, what is the vision of ICSI? What exactly are we doing at this point of time? We are focusing our entire energy out of the 54 segments of service industry on education sector. In education sector, you have the teachers also, you have the counselors, you have the mentors, you have the coach, you have got the director, you've got vice chancellors, you've got principals, and you've got other modes of appointments, what we have got. But at the core of the whole system is teacher. So we are working in the direction capacity building of teachers through Inspirational Lab. Inspirational Lab is the brainchild of ICSI. Earlier, we had a finishing school. Now it is the Inspirational Lab, preparing global teachers and making education and skills relevant that is something which we are developing across the globe. Now, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's come together. Let's make a better world. Let's travel for peace, prosperity, happiness, growth, and everybody's, gaga. Till date, ICSI has completed 1,727 webinars, and which we started on 25th of March 2020. Every year in month of January, we celebrate our Pravasi Divas, and 9th of January, it is the All India complete with all the NRIs. We have got Pravasi Divas, that is which is across the globe with all the non-resident Indians. But at the same time, you have got vibrant Gujarat, vibrant Karnataka, vibrant Tamil Nadu, vibrant Andhra, vibrant Rajasthan. So many things keep taking place. Similar way, there is a North India Pravasi Divas, where right the Union Territory of Leh Ladakh, then you come to Jammu and Kashmir, then you come to state of Punjab, Haryana, Himachal, Uttarakhand, UP, and beautiful what you have got, the Union Territory, Chandigarh. All of us together, we celebrate every year North India Pravasi Divas. And that is with the non-resident Indian, and the corporate is an integrated development, which takes place over there. This year, that is the coming January 2023, the 3 days celebrations are going to be dedicated to education, to educators, to youth, what kind of a future and what technology is going to play important role. We are taking one day completely Singapore case studies and another day Finland. And of course, the curtains will be raised on 13th of January with North India services sector and education. With these words, join me in extending a very warm welcome to Engineer Dolly Bhasin, ma'am, the founder, SmartEdge, and MD, SPH Consultancy and Eservices Private Limited. Subject is very, very stimulating, very rewarding. It's up to you what you can take away. Should you have any question, should you have anything to ask from her, you can post it on the ongoing live telecast on the YouTube channel, and we would certainly take it up. With these words, we, ladies and gentlemen, present Engineer Dolly Bhasin, ma'am. Namaskar, ma'am. Hearty welcome. Pleasure to have you. Unmute your mic, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for extending such a warm welcome. I am Dolly Bhasin, and I'm a founder of SmartEdge. SmartEdge is a platform to innovate for the future of work. And I have been researching on future of tourism for the last 10 years. So I did my master's in tourism after being an engineer for 25 years. Spent a lot of time really finding out what is really happening and how the future is going to take shape. And I'm here today to present some of it. The whole idea that actually attracted me towards e-tourism is not only my technology background, but also I am a gold medalist electronics and communication engineer, but also that I came from a small city called Udaipur in Rajasthan. It's one of the most beautiful cities. And I used to be very dismayed by the kind of tourist traffic that India in general gets and Udaipur in specific gets. And I said, why is that? And that curiosity really drove me to really bring about some change. And so some of it will be presented today in my talk. So I thank ICSI to really give me a chance to share my views. It might actually go a little bit into depth, so pardon me, I've tried to really keep out the jargon of technology from the the whole this thing and try to make it very simple, not even having much of the technology, but you can't have e-tourism without the technology per se. So today I will be presenting a short introduction to e-tourism, very specifically going into why we have to really adopt e-tourism and what are the kind of manifestations that e-tourism is going to really be seen if we really want to make India one of the most favored destination in the world. I take a lot of pride that during my work in the last 10, 12 years, I've been able to position Udaipur as one of the destinations which has been awarded the one of the top 10 destinations in the world by the World Tourism Organization. So I'd just like to briefly define e-tourism. E-tourism refers to a phenomena and research area in which the adoption of information and communication technology, very prominently called ICT in most of the international terminology, by tourist and business which transforms the processes and the value chains in the industry. So point to be noted is that it is a business transformative process and not a technology per se, which basically looks at how do we really transform not only the processes but also the value chains. Now, most of us know or consume tourism, so we know that it has a very long value chain. You have travel agents who sell you the travel and tourism packages. You have distributors of hotels. You have distributors of the various services like car rental, etc., etc. So the whole cycle is a very long cycle. The whole value chain is a very long value chain. So it needs to be, and the problem is in the integration of the value chain. Technology per se provides a very strong bonding for integrating them, but still it needs much more than that, and that is what e-tourism tries to provide. This development changes the processes within the business or the organization while reconfiguring the landscape of commerce. The whole purpose of e-tourism is to change the landscape of commerce of the products that are being sold for tourism. In short, e-tourism is the digitization of all the processes and value chains in the tourism, travel, hospitality, and the catering agencies that enable organizations to maximize their efficiency and efficacy. So two most important things is that it is not just tourism alone, but the integration of tourism, of the travel services, the hospitality services, the catering services, or I should say the kind of restaurants and the other food related industry which is there, which supports the organization, and also the crafts and the local crafts which has just got added into the whole paraphernalia. So what we're trying to do through e-tourism is to maximize the efficiency and the efficacy. So why is it important? As a service industry, tourism is specifically influenced and transformed by the ICT development. We all have been, earlier it used to be very difficult to really book a train ticket, but today you can do it on your mobile or your computer without actually standing in line for, and you know which particular, you have the choice of choosing the kind of mode of travel that you want, whether it is railways or whether it is flight or any kind of combination of that. And you also have a wide choice of choosing the hotels, the travel facilities, etc. This has been really supported by the technology today. But typically, most of the tourism products, tourism is moving towards an experiential tourism, where people just don't want to go there, travel there and stay in a hotel, but they want to experience the culture. They want to experience the true sense of that, or this thing, what is the kind of culture, what is the kind of food, what is the kind of attractions that city or that destination has. So typically, the tourism products are complex. They are not just one product. There are multiple things are associated to create that experience. And the production and consumption, both are inseparable. Meaning that you want an experience, then the setting of that experience also contributes to the how the consumer is basically responding to it. It's not that you can create a beautiful place, but you don't have the necessary appreciation of that by the consumer, then it doesn't provide the necessary value. So this is one thing which is very typical of getting into the consumers, taking the consumer's mind share. So this normally doesn't happen overnight. I mean, sometimes they have a cultural shock. So for example, when Goa open to the international tourist, a lot of Indian people didn't want to go to Goa just because of the kind of cultural shock they have in terms of the way most of the foreigners really sunbathe and use the premises, have parties till late night and so on and so forth. Now that was a lot of cultural shock. So there is a lot more that has to be really conveyed to create an experience which is conducive to the local as well as to the tourist. Now, the consumer experience varies depending upon the individual tourist, as well as on different times they behave differently. So that's also to be really captured. Most important thing is that the inventories of goods and services are perishable. That means that you can't recreate 25th of December, it will always occur on 25th December. And if you have to celebrate Christmas, it has to be celebrated on 25th. So that means that on 25th of December, all tourist destinations will have a complete full this thing, but you will on maybe after 26th, you will have those same hotels and all the tourist locations lying vacant. So it's very, very important to understand that the perishability aspects of the goods and services in the tourism. Also, the industry is composite in nature. That requires a lot of coordination between different types of services and delivery of rich information in order to reduce the uncertainty. Now, let's say, for example, I would like to come from London to India, and I am landing in Delhi, and I have to really go to Agra. So that means then I need to really be able to know what are the flights from London to Delhi, and where do I stay in Delhi, and also how do I go to Agra from here. So that requires specialized services which basically take care of all this, and this is normally done through the travel agents. But in the online world, you have no intermediaries. You have lesser number of intermediaries. You normally book it yourself, or you try to really do it through aggregators like Make My Trip or some other organization. Now, the same kind of service which is required, which you are used to getting through a travel agent, can't be simulated until and unless you have a whole lot of information available, or whole amount of support which is available, which is through the ICT mechanism. And this is where we need to really kind of where to eTourism comes into picture, as to how do you really help people to discover new places, find out what is important there, what kind of rules are applicable, what kinds of this thing, which traditionally was missing in the online travel per se. Now, what is also important for the people in the technology, in the tourism space, in the travel space, is to swiftly act to sell the unsold inventory, otherwise it will perish. So these are some of the reasons why e-tourism is going to gain a lot of popularity. Already e-travel has taken a big amount of chunk away from the traditional travel agency business. The travel agents that have actually survived have become specialists in certain areas, and whether it is international travel or whether it is inbound or outbound travel or any kind of specialized services, maybe adventure, maybe heritage or this thing. So they have got expertise in that area, and they are able to really provide all that information, the value added information to their clients in a much better manner, and they are able to really compete in the e-tourism area. Now, why do we really need e-tourism? That the biggest reason of e-tourism to really come into picture is that information on all aspects of the tourism life cycle are not available at one place. You go to TripAdvisor to really look at what is the kind of places that are having the higher rating. You go to Make My Trip to find out what is the best package available. You go to the various other places to find more information about what are the visa and other regulatory requirements to really go to that city if you are an international traveler. So these are things which are not currently available in one place, and that is one of the reason why e-tourism and authentic information is missing. Authentic meaning to say that people who really the outside traveler or a person who hasn't seen the place actually has the right imagery of that place, which is not only conveyed by pictures and information which might be marketing information, but which is validated by other people, and that effectively means reviews and all kinds of validation through being a certified travel agent or a certified online aggregator and so on and so forth. So there's also another trend in the travel tourism space, which is that the tourism is moving from the mass tourism to independent travel. And independent traveler demands authentic and memorable experiences. Now, when you really have an online aggregator of tourism, there is not major support designed for the individual traveler. It's mostly for the group traveler or people who are business travelers or who have this thing, because it requires a much more amount of information that an individual traveler looks for before he takes his decision. So this is another reason for e-tourism to come into picture. The internet makes the task of destination search easier, but the related information is not easily available and accessible. Sometimes it's available, but it is not accessible. For example, if I have to really find out that which are the countries for which no visa is required for an Indian, it's not easily available. you'll have to go to each country to really find out. So there are a few people who have really put up that information, and whoever knows of it can access it and probably plan a trip on a random this thing. And this is something that needs to be really integrated. And also the information how to really reach there, what is the kind of best time to really reach there, and so on and so forth, is currently missing in the current systems. And most of the people who want to come and experience new areas do not know the local language. So what is the local language? If they don't know, it becomes very difficult for them to really know that. So they have to depend upon interpreters and people who are tourist guides who understand their language. Now, eTourism offers you all that through various systems, and I'll talk more about it later. Also, local attractions. What are the local attractions? So some of the places which are ticketed and which have the most popularity are only advertised. The ones which are smaller places but maybe of huge interest to some individual traveler is never promoted. So you need to really have all kinds of information made available for different target groups, and that is what eTourism tends to offer. Also, maps, local maps, availability of maps which is annotated with their languages, and what kind of local cuisine that they can try and which one they should not, and things like that are currently missing. Local SMEs and the gifts and the crafts, because most international traveler or anybody who is going to a new country likes to experience not only the cuisine and the culture, but also what is the kind of small enterprises, what kind of businesses are there in that area, what kind of gifts that they can take back, what kind of local crafts that they can really take back with them, so that there is a remembrance of the tourism destination. So essentially, eTourism currently focuses on three things: people, planet, and profit. So the whole context is to really bring in a hybrid business model, which is a hybrid business model which takes care of the three P's: the people, planet, and profit. It's not just automation or digitization of the information, but also rest on these four C's, which is the context, collaboration, community, and commerce. And this is what makes e-tourism different from the e-travel. The other most important aspect of e-tourism is that it has to be made accessible through various kinds of electronic devices, whether it is a computer, whether it is a phone, whether it is an iPad or it's an iPhone or any kind of electronic device. And I'll come to other electronic devices which actually help. So for example, if there is a tourist who is coming to an attraction, he needs to really have a translation service, then how can he have a small piece of gadget which actually gives him a voiceover in his language or her language, especially for the cultural heritage sites or sites which have historic interest to the individual traveler. These are also electronic devices, and they are not owned by the traveler, but basically are lent to them, which acts as what is called the e-tourism, which adds to the e-tourism per se. In a traditional online travel ecosystem, we have this ecosystem where you can research, do a booking, travel, write travel reviews, inspire other people to help them plan, and then the cycle goes on for others. But in the e-tourism space, there are multiple actors, and here is the difference, that we not only look at just the travel actors, but also the hospitality and the other stakeholders. The other stakeholders becomes the government, the tourism bodies, it becomes the media, it becomes the destination marketing organizations, all kinds of agencies which are a part of the tourism ecosystem really kind of have to be integrated to really make sure that the complete data or a digital ecosystem through the smart technology is brought into this thing, which is also integrated to the consumer community and also to the supply network through various intermediaries or directly at the tourism attractions and destinations. So what essentially trying to do is to really shift the focus not only to the tourist when he arrives or just to attract him to come and then forget about him, but also to really kind of take him to, so there is a management concept of marketing for anything, which is the ADA concept, which is attention, interest, desire, and purchase. But what is forgotten is the loyalty. The loyalty is basically what is not captured anywhere in the system, in the traditional travel ecosystem. So until and unless you go back to the same site, here loyalty should be captured by the tourism destination, should be available to all the people that, okay, this is the kind of tourists that you get and this is this thing, so that you are better prepared for the next visit of a person from the same country or the same type of preferences that they have, and so on and so forth. So some of the drivers of the e-tourism strategies are basically threefold. One is the tourism organization, which is the most important organization. Normally, the tourism organizations are completely left out of the travel ecosystem and the hospitality ecosystem. They work in their own silo. The travel agencies and the travel selling organization work in a different silo. And then if they don't meet together, they have the meeting ground is the basis of the e-tourism. So this is basically to bring the consumers and the other stakeholders together. What is the biggest strategy that e-tourism really provides to create, to really, I would say, get repeat customer and to really understand who is your customer, what kind of preferences that he has, what kind of offerings or what kind of products that they are looking for. And there's a lot that can be done through the electronic mode by capturing the right information at the right time and also being able to really mine that data to really make meaningful predictions and meaningful analysis of the entire tourism sector, which can offer tailor-made tourist products, which can also share information, tourist information and operational data for interoperability between various countries, various cities, or various destinations. So three kinds of e-tourism trends are there. One is basically the consumer or the customer centric, which are for CRM, which is the customer relationship management. How do you manage the relationship between the consumer and the service provider? And the location, context, or the mood awareness, that what kind of so locational information through maps, e-maps, electronic maps, context through the relevant service provider that is interacting with him, and also to understand his or her mood through the platforms like Twitter and others. So any posts that they do, if they go to a site, they post pictures. So this gives an indication of the mood and gives an indication of whether people are preferring and this is all user generated content. It is something that people who have experienced the tourism offering, how they use various electronic medium. That means you have to scrap all this data from the public domain and be able to assess and work on the strategies for future. Proactive, which is proactive and anticipatory. Also, you have to develop reactive and adaptive mechanisms to meet the consumer needs. This requires a system, integrated system approach, which is satisfaction driven. Now, the other end of the spectrum is the company, which is driven by the profitability. So the cost, how do you really bring down the cost and how do you increase the revenues is always the business paradigm. And that is why I said the the tourism, the e-tourism is not just digitizing the information, but also looking at commerce, and commerce also in terms of looking at expansion of the market and the operations as well as marketing and promotion. But most important is the distribution, the yield management, the revenue management, and an extensive distribution strategy. How are you going to really attract people coming from Malaysia? Which are the airlines that come from Malaysia to India? If there is no direct flight from Malaysia to India, then what is the route that has to be taken? So these are the things which have to be brought in a very synergistic manner so that a user is not discomforted. So earlier when we I worked with Udaipur, and I know that Udaipur had only one flight in a day. And at that point of time, it was very difficult to really come to a city like Udaipur. The moment the government opened up the smaller aircrafts, smaller airlines to operate, suddenly there were a lot of interest that got generated. At the same time, the connectivity to cities like Ahmedabad, cities like this thing improved. You'll be really surprised that some of the tourist cities are not even connected to prominent cities which are just 250 kilometers from Udaipur. Like Ahmedabad is not connected. It has just been last week connected to Ahmedabad through a railway line, and it was like you have to go through three hops to go to 250 kilometers away city which is as prominent as Ahmedabad. So what I'm trying to really is that the profitability does not come only from the operations, but also comes from the strategy of how the travel is structured, what is the best mode of transport, which is the cheapest and economical. And if we go back to our definition, the efficiency and the efficacy of the process. The distribution in e-tourism, one of the most significant thing is it's a partnership enabled process where you work like a virtual organization, which are interoperable, as well as it develops a value system. What is the value system? And I'll give you the example of, and I'll just continue with the example of Ahmedabad, and this thing which what we can relate to very easily is between Delhi and Ahmedabad. This was a big problem. So what happened? There were so many buses which were operating between Ahmedabad and Delhi, and there were private taxi operators which were doing one-way as well as two-way groups for Ahmedabad. And I know that people used to catch a flight when there was only one flight to Delhi, between Delhi and Udaipur. We used to take a cab and go to Ahmedabad and take a flight from there. So that's the kind of ecosystem enablement which has to be really made by the travel agency or any intermediary who is really working in this. And that has to be done electronically now, which is where the real challenge is. So just another this thing as to what are the enablers in terms of the trends for e-tourism. We have on one side the technology presentation of it, which is fueled by artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, mobile communication, and cloud services. So the entire data is actually captured in the cloud and made available through different kinds of layers, either through the mobile or and the information is gathered in real time through Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence technology adds the necessary value to sift out the right information at the right time. This provides the necessary support to the entire tourism infrastructure, which is basically the government, the tourists, the residents, the enterprises, and tourists, whether they are internal or that is domestic or international. And you have smart tourism information systems, which basically provide all the necessary services which are required for either booking hotels or booking integrated packages or whatever. So the most significant thing that makes the difference in the e-tourism space as opposed to the e-travel space is that of the smart technologies. What is smart technology? It's slightly different from the normal ICT technologies, that it actually has a feedback mechanism or a mechanism to update real-time information. For example, we are all used to seeing the trading of on the stock exchange, which is happening in real time. So it enables the people to take their own choices, to make their own choices at their own will. Likewise, we need to have tourism systems which actually give you all those parameters which are needed for the tourist to really take his informed decision whether he should go there or not go there. If he has to go there, then what are the things, what is the weather there, what is the kind of places that you have to see, what is the real-time information, is there a bridge which has collapsed, is there a traffic congestion in certain area because a vehicle has broken down, or so and so forth. So everything has to be, and this only can come through advanced maps and location technologies, which basically combine all the information about the cities, the communities, the cars, which make it smarter and safer. So this also brings me to a fact that we are moving towards the Web 2.0 based commerce to a Web 3.0 based commerce. And without going into the jargon, I can only just very simply say that the web has been evolving, and so has the e-commerce been evolving. While in the Web 1, everybody was connected on the internet, in Web 2.0, it was connection of like-minded people which share and interact with others in groups. Whereas in Web 3.0 is about individuals receiving the right content and the right time from anywhere. It could be some information which is being compiled by some XYZ whom you don't know. The weather information is compiled by somebody we don't know. We have never seen them, we don't interact with them. But that information is provided to all the service providers, and it is accessible to every individual at either no cost or at a cost which is very affordable. Same way, the e-commerce is in e-commerce 1.0, we had, here is what we have. In e-commerce 2, people, it says people who bought this particular product also bought this other product. So it's based on recommendations of the previous data. But in e-commerce 3, you anticipate what you are looking at. It anticipates what you're looking at and provides the right recommendation that this is what are you looking for. That is how the e-tourism works. In terms of advertisements, you had static portals or display advertising, whereas in online, in the Web 2, you have dynamic and placement contextual, which basically is based on behavioral, demographic, and geographic tagging. Whereas in online advertisement in Web 3.0, it's going to be highly personalized to display based on the user preference, the community, and other characteristics, which include the environmental characteristics. And some of the tools in the smart world, the technologies are integrated into eTourism, are the digital identity, whether it is through QR codes, whether it is RFID or NFC or social IDs. So I'm not going into details of this because I think most of us are now using it for a long time. We all understand that. But in very quick, this thing, every destination would have a certain identity. That certain identity is across the world is the same. So for example, every airport would have a unique code, and that code, you can identify that code from wherever you are in the world. And there is a very standard, there's a lot of standardization in that process. In the same way, every tourism destination, World Tourism Organization accords the destination tagging, that these are the destinations which are approved by World Tourism Organization, and there is a certain ranking that is given, which actually gives a kind of interest to people that these are the places which we can go with a level of comfort that it's safe. And it has the reason, whatever is being talked about it is really there. Same way, we have mobile location-based systems, which actually give you a lot of information about where you are, what you can do there, and so on and so forth. I mean, we are all used to Google Maps. We've seen what Uber and Ola really kind of use these systems in a big way. And there are much more that there is a possibility to really map. Some effort has been done in metro cities to map the restaurants, the petrol pumps, and all kinds of other utilities on the Google Map. But we can go down to each destination, get the street view. We can go down to find a virtual reality based system where you can what Google Glass was doing to really get a virtual tour of that particular location the moment you move on the mouse on a particular location or a particular area in the map. You'll get what all is available in that area. You can actually visually see it. These are the augmented reality systems, and they are getting integrated. I wish I could really kind of put that up with this thing, but for the paucity of time, I'll leave it for some other day. There are also smart interfaces and APIs where you don't need to. So what we are going to see is a network of networks, which will basically bring in the community of travelers, the people who are local communities, and the IT communities to really come together and provide a service which is unprecedented in the e-tourism space to really provide the necessary efficiency in the system. So some of the other technology enablers have been the explosion of the wireless communication and also the smartphones. Now, smartphones provide you Bluetooth-based connectivity, which does not require any major effort, doesn't cost you anything. Same way, today everybody knows that wireless-based technologies are a boon to traveler who is traveling from one country to the other. So there is another set of trends that we need to capture in terms of e-tourism, which is that business tourism is also really booming at a 30% rate of increase every year on year. Health and wellness tourism has taken a big boost in the current scenario. Educational tourism, which basically people want to really either get themselves educated on certain things which they don't know and would like to really do during their travel to other countries. Like, for example, there are handloom trails, ethnic tribes, bamboo craft, circular economy, cross-border trade, tea trails, etc., which is gaining importance in the tourism perspective. Ecotourism, culinary tourism, heritage tourism are also gaining popularity in certain pockets. So what we need to see is how this is going to really be substantiated in the e-tourism, which is what we need to really see in the future. So right now, the current debate that is going on in the world at various forums is how tourism can really be a viable option in the kind of climate change arena, because travel is the second largest or the largest carbon emission producer. So there are various strategies which are being defined, and e-tourism is going to play a big role in trying to combat that, especially if we want to really make tourism as a get back or bounce back into this thing. We have to really formulate strategies, and there are certain strategies which McKinsey has come out with a research paper very recently saying that decarbonization is one of the biggest things that have to be done to really make sure that the carbon emissions, the negative carbon emissions that the travel, the long distance travel actually brings in is somehow compensated by the green decarbonization. So the travel activity per se is going to soar by 85%, and that is a figure which is very staggering, considering that this is going to play a big role in adding to the climate change problem. So it's very important to really see that how do we really get into the area of combating with climate change and bringing down these carbon emissions. So the decarbonization strategies include identifying and sequencing decarbonization initiatives of the corporate travel. The corporate travel is more than 30% of the total travel. So how do we really bring the corporates to really offset some of the thing through e-tourism is one of the areas that is a strong effort going on internationally to really look at this. Also, partners to accelerate the decarbonization of business travel. So there are a lot of partnerships are actually happening where the major source of the GHG emissions, the travel companies are partnering with organizations to accelerate both the decarbonization journeys. That means that there could be designing of booking platforms to nudge the users to make more sustainable choices, and also making reservations, helping employees track their individual emissions, and providing options or data transparency for organization to accurately measure their carbon emissions from the corporate travel, which effectively means that they know exactly what is the carbon emission that each corporate or each individual in a corporate is making while they do a business. So can they do it through online mode? Can they have mechanisms like e-conferencing to really reduce this burden? Or is there some way to offset it against some kind of measurement? The other two is basically the leisure travel. So leisure travel companies also are currently trying to make a lot of attempt, but it's mostly greenwashing, and there is a lot of difference between, or gap between, what they say and what they are actually doing, and that is what needs to be really kind of bridged through a transparent mechanism, which is currently a lot of effort is being made, and I think we in India have a lot more to really kind of contribute in this particular area. So in the leisure travel, 70% of all the travel revenues are supportive of, they say that they are supportive of decarbonization, whereas actually 40% of the travelers globally say that they are willing to pay at least 2% more for the carbon neutral flight tickets. So there is a growing awareness in the consumers. We need to really cash on that and try to provide, incentivize, and create mechanisms to make sure that we are able to really justify this particular gap. Skift is an organization which does consumer surveys in the travel industry. It says that there is a say to do gap. Only 14% of the travelers state that they actually paid more for the sustainable options when they travel. That means we still have a long way to go to really bring more and more travelers into sustainable travel options, to make a conscious choice of sustainable travel. That means that there has to be a clear sustainability related information. The sustainable booking options, how can you really book without really adding more to the this thing, which means that you need to give them options of, let's say, electrical vehicles, or you can give them options of traveling through low emission choices, and so on and so forth. So the last and the most important aspect of the e-tourism, which is going to shape in the future, is basically building new sustainable travel businesses for the future. So that instead of reacting to the latest development of transitioning towards net zero, the travel sector can proactively force and pioneer sustainable products and services. By doing that, they are not only enabling the individual travel companies to create new sources of revenue, but also will be redirected to other green business opportunities. For example, the electrical vehicles. So there is a fleet which is being created by a company called Blue Smart, which is only having electrical vehicles. Now this has become so popular in Delhi, Gurgaon NCR region that it is now really going to every major metro city, and is going to be a preferred choice for a taxi for international travel, because they're tying up with most of the travel groups to make sure that the carbon emissions, and the most important thing is the measurability, is really being brought right at the time of booking your cab, which is the most significant thing. And this is all comes under e-tourism. Fortunately, we think that right, going down to the individual traveler, this enablement which is happening at maybe one single travel agent or a single travel service provider, is actually contributing to the whole cause of bringing in sustainability into the tourism. There is another big move towards sustainable aviation fuel value chain, which actually reduces the amount of emissions, the carbon emissions, that by using specialized fuels, and also provides standardized environmental, social, and governance measures. Now, if there is a person going into a travel, long distance travel, and has certain amount of carbon emissions, it can be offset against the carbon credits, against planting some trees or doing some kind of other activities. And that is a mechanism which needs to now take shape, not only by just the environmental factors, but also the social and the governance aspects. So there is a new standard called ESG, which is coming up, and it's taking a big shape in the European travel. US is yet to follow much on ESG. India is slowly catching up, and India is basically the beneficiary of offsetting for some of the large corporate houses in the European sector. Also, credit card companies could partner with airlines and hotels to offer customized services which offset some of these carbon credits for how you are paying through for your travel. So, for example, if you're paying through a credit card, then that credit card can offer you a discounted, let's say, insurance, or a discounted hotel room, or whatever, based on the number of this thing that you offset against your carbon credits. So with that, I'll just try to wrap up and showcase some of the things that will actually show how it has been done in my city. And one of the things that we really did is to really create a very powerful imagery and position Udaipur as a tourism destination, which this is a picture of Lake Pichola, which is the Udaipur is called a city of lakes. We have 7 lakes which are there within the city, and each one of them is very beautiful. The city palace, which you can see behind this thing, is a very magnificent structure. And the kind of imagery this was, which has been created over the years for this, has actually captured a lot of imagination. And it was only required for us to really bring. In 1998, I brought in a national level conference on ICT in Udaipur on travel and tourism. So this was CSI was one of the biggest agency, and we couple of us put our heads together to see if we can do something about improving tourism. And this was one of the things. We really got some of the best pictures of Udaipur and made it a mechanism to attract people to come for a conference in Udaipur. If you do a travel tourism conference, at least 30, 40, 50 people will, travel agents, and this thing will come to the city, and then they can create their structure, and that paid off. You can see some of these pictures, and this is these are something that we actually did much before drones and others were. So there was a helicopter which was hired to take this picture. And such a beautiful picture. I mean, I have seen some of my friends come from all the way from Japan to really come and see Udaipur based on some of these pictures. Likewise, the heritage property like Shiv Nivas, which is equally beautiful as Lake Palace, was never recognized. And this is the magnificent Darbar Hall of Udaipur, and really was open to the public. And today they charge a huge amount of sum just to really open and show this place to the tourist. And there is a crystal gallery. So on the sides, if you can see this side, there is a these are these jharokas. So just on the sides, they have created a crystal gallery restaurant, which was my consulting. And what we did was to really make sure that there is a commerce which is attached to this particular hall, and different kinds of arrangement which are possible for royal settings can be done here. So today it has become the most popular joint for destination weddings for some of the biggest MNCs and biggest corporate houses of India. So different kinds of settings, how it could really look in different kinds of settings. We had had a huge amount of pictures created and so on and so forth. Now this was static picture. What was missing was the audio for doing all these things. So I can't show the audio the thing, but I don't have the access to it. But we created audio tours for each of these attractions, which made sure that people really understand what is that this city has to offer, what is that particular attraction has to offer, and what is the history and what is the way to navigate through it. So there's a virtual reality walkthrough that were created for the entire palace. You'll actually go crazy if you have to really visit, and most of the guides would only show you some 5 or 6 things, but leave out some of the ones which are also equally important and has a cultural and heritage value. So with that, I'll like to end, and my basic this thing has been that we have to take a call to make sure that we really align ourselves to where the world is moving and take a lead rather than being the follower. In most of the industries, we have been a follower of the Western world. Here we have an opportunity. We have the IT prowess. We have such beautiful tourism offerings. Why are we not the number one in tourism? I take a lot of pride that when I started into this industry, the Indian share of tourism was 2%, and the latest figure, if I remember, is 7.8%, and it's growing day by day. So it's very important for us to take pride in our country, and I think eTourism is the way to go. And if we are able to create the necessary capacity and the capability, and really look at not just the tourism offerings alone, but the tourism research, how tourism really can offer the right kind of opportunities for people to create commerce opportunities, whether it is in the discovery of tourism destinations of India, whether it is the way we pay for tourism attractions, the way we integrate the tourism value chain, or the way we actually offer experiential tourism. So with that, I'd like to end, and thank you very much for the opportunity. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was a stimulating journey. We really enjoyed thoroughly. Although you left us thirsty, showing only few slides of Udaipur, we were expecting more. Maybe next time.
I just tried to showcase one particular setting, that what it can make from outside and inside, something which people didn't know about it. And in fact, I had to really coax the Maharaja of Udaipur to really open up Darbar Hall and Jag Mandir to make sure that becomes a commerce activity for them, not just a tourism opportunity, but also create a commerce opportunity, and it pays towards the maintenance of the place. It requires a huge maintenance, and it will go into a negative this thing if it doesn't really get done. So until and unless you bring in commerce, things are not going to work.
Great. Because some of the people they posted here, they enjoyed thoroughly the beautiful pictures which you had shown over there of Udaipur. They are just posting on my private one. They say that, wow, we never knew that people know about Jodhpur, they know about Jaipur. Udaipur, yes, it's popular. People knew it, but you mentioned very rightly the connectivity that plays very important role. How is the connectivity, whether air connectivity, and people want to reach fastest and they want to reach quickest and hassle-free wherever they have to be. Now, few takeaways which we would like to, and I would like to request you. Now, research part, when you have made a mention over here, very interesting. Now, with that, education also have to be complemented and supplemented, because our education, our academics should not be theoretical. It should not be which is not matching the corporate world and the travel and tourism. And finally, something very interesting you made a mention, the commerce of tourism when you talk about. So I personally feel that today you have given just the stimulator to us. as far as the e-tourism, when we get into the depth of it, we would actually like to go onto the apps, the tech platforms, and various other platforms, like you made a mention of the Make My Trip. There are a couple of others also which are available. So maybe one more session, and the title which comes to my mind is Commerce of Tourism Digital Way.
Right.
Commerce of tourism, digital way, where we talk about technology, but at the same time, we get little more insight from you on the commerce of tourism, because pandemic has given a big jolt to travel trade. And we were the first bird to be shot, and we were the first to be hit, and everything once it gets locked. And you very nicely mentioned about the economy and the economics and the commerce, the economic multiplier. When we look into it, is not directly the hotel, how many people are otherwise dependent on that just one establishment. So there is a lot which has to be done. I would request you that as per your convenience, we will have one more session getting more into the depth of technology, where you also made a mention that ICT conference which you organized at Udaipur, was it focused on tourism?
Yes, only tourism,
Okay,
tourism and
only
travel.
tourism.
Yeah,
Okay,
only tourism.
okay, travel and
That
tourism.
was
So,
actually brought in under the CSI banner, but it was
okay,
focused on. Incidentally, I actually did so much of work and research on this that Mastercard actually chose 20 women from all over the world who have been doing some very innovative work, and I was one of them. I was a recipient
wow,
of a global scholarship by Mastercard. Only 20
wonderful.
women were. And then subsequent to when I had completed this MBA in tourism, business administration program in tourism and travel, I got another offer from the Nottingham University to do my master's in tourism. Was just adding another 5 more papers, and I was a achiever in the sustainable tourism space. So I actually was awarded by the Indian government from the Ministry of Environment and thing of I haven't mentioned some of the other projects that I have done, but I've actually done capacity building of the entire Uttarakhand region with 40 hotels in between Uttarakhand and Rajasthan, where we converted some of the heritage properties into hotels. Small properties, large properties were already kind of done, but the smaller properties, which are the so-called havelis, and even the in the Mewar, this thing, there is an institute which is the Mewar Academy and the Mewar school, which Maharaja of Udaipur converted into a school. It is basically the astabal of, it was the astabal of the Rajgharana. So those kind of initiatives require a lot of understanding of the local this thing and how the things can be converted into. I was involved with the Narendra Nagar Maharaja of Narendra Nagar to really convert the heritage property of Narendra Nagar to really create what is now known as Ananda Spa, which is the first spa. I was the consultant for 2 years before they opened up, and I brought in a lot of technology innovation as well as training to the travel and tourism. My focus has been that if we can really groom the local people to really adopt travel and tourism, it is much better than bringing in people from outside, because people from outside don't really know the culture, don't need really bring in the kind of depth of knowledge that they have about that particular tourism destination. So I have done this experiment in 2 cities, 2 destinations. One was the Narendra Nagar, and the other was a place called Chamba. Also with leisure hotels in Corbett. So we brought in a lot of awareness about the the Corbett as such, to really promote the ecotourism. So I did a international level conference in 2001. Nobody really was doing e-tourism in terms of, so this was a conferencing, this thing where we had about 10 case studies from India. And this was with an international partner from Egypt, from some of the international portals. Eco Club was one of them, and Planet Asia or Planet World, I don't remember the exact thing. This is basically focusing on environmental and ecotourism options. So you need to really look at one area and try to find out what is the best offering that has, and how do you package it in such a manner that it offers all the four pillars of sustainability as well as e-commerce, bringing in the context and bringing in the people together to work on it.
Wonderful, wonderful. It was a very stimulating and a very rewarding and very enriching session. We look forward to further association with you. We would certainly go on to Commerce of Tourism digital way. We will plan another session in consultation with our team, and we would love to have you where we will get too much into the depth in real sense, where the entire travel trade, the hospitality industry and others, because people are looking forward to getting more technical information as well. We will work onto that, but on a very healthy and a very positive note, Anjan Kumar Bora, he's telling, let's all visit Rajasthan someday. Julie Subba ma'am, love to visit Rajasthan. Awesome. And the land of kings and queens, great session. Regards from Alwar, somebody has mentioned. Then this is a really beautiful, wonderful session. Very relevant and need of the hour session, productive platform. And so it's all encouraging, which is coming up over here. Thank you very much, ma'am. It was a pleasure to have you with us. And
thank you very much. And the other area that interests me is your area, which is basically the education in tourism. Yes. And in the travel industry, I in fact created 22 different programs for Tradewing Institute of Management when I was the managing director of Tradewing Infotech. We brought in some very unique programs on things which people need in the industry, but never had a program on it. For example, how to sell foreign exchange, how to set up a car rental agency, how do you really create destinations, tourism destinations. So what kind of support infrastructure is needed? How do you create a DMO? How do you make this thing? So these were programs that I did after doing my master's, and I brought in a lot of fresh programs which have created. These are short-term programs which people can do while they are learning through the e-commerce. And we trained almost about 1 lakh people just selling travel insurance and insurance in the insurance sector through the Tradewing online program.
Wonderful. Somebody has just posted, so interesting to listen and understand the importance of the tourism, especially the heritage tourism from Madam. Somebody has just posted it. So wonderful, ma'am. Thank you very much. Look forwarding to, another session with you one of these days. We will discuss with the team and we will further take it on the journey, the capacity building of teachers also, helping the youth also, commerce of tourism also, digital way, how all